special. This song is one of my grandfather's favorite songs, and I always really liked it. And I just love the message that's behind it, and so I wish you will all be ready.
Say the Bible. You know what Bible stands for? B-I-B-L-E. Book of Instructions before leaving Earth. Because when that time comes, there's not going to be time to get there. So, I hope you got your Bibles with you today. Take them and turn to Joshua chapter 22. Joshua chapter 22. The Israelites have come into the promised land. Joshua has led them in. They have captured all of the promised land. They are now at peace. So as they gather all back together, remember, Ethan, I'm sorry, I'm just throwing your books everywhere. As they were all gathered back together, it was time of peace, and the Israelites had conquered the land that God has promised them. Now remember, on the other side of the Jordan, before they entered, there was 2.5 tribes that had been promised the land already settled. And Joshua said, look, your people can stay over here in the land that they've already got, but your warriors have to come with us and help us conquer the rest of it. And so now it comes that time, and Joshua summons the Reubenites and the Gittites and half of the tribe of Manasseh, and said to them, you have kept all that Moses, your servant, the Lord, has commanded you. You have listened to my voice, all that I've commanded you. You have not forsaken your brothers on these days to this day, but you have kept the charge of the commandment of the Lord your God. In verse 4, now the Lord your God has given rest to your brothers. There's peace in the land. He has spoken to them. Therefore, turn now and go to your tents. Go to the land of your possession, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave to you beyond Jordan. In other words, now that we have conquered everything, gather all of your belongings and go home. We thank you for your service. You have done exactly what the Lord has commanded of you, and now you're ready to go back home. I can imagine. They were gone here about 5.5 years. I would be ready to go home after 5.5 years. You know, let me go home and visit my wife and my kids. All right? But they were returning home. But before he left, he gave them a commandment. He didn't just send them off. Y'all done great. Go off. He gave them a commandment, and in verse 5, and that's what you heard Joe reading just a while ago. But be careful to observe the commandments and the law which Moses your servant has of the Lord your God commanded you. To love the Lord your God and walk in his ways and keep his commandments and hold fast to him and serve him with all of your heart and all of your soul. So Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their tents. Wow. I can just imagine, here it is, they have finally accomplished what they had set out to do. The task has been accomplished. The war has been won. And now they get ready to go home, and now Joshua sends them and says, but now I want you to remember to keep the commandments of the Lord. Serve him with all of your heart, with all of your soul. Y'all be blessed. And so now they were gathering their stuff together, and they were heading back home. Now I want you to picture this. These 2.5 tribes were heading back home. And in verse 10 there, I'm going to jump down to it. It says, and when they came to the region of Jordan, which was in the land of Canaan, the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh built an altar there by the Jordan, a large altar in appearance. When they got ready to leave, and before they crossed over to go back home that Jordan River, they stopped there, and it was right close beside where the altar of the Lord had been built when they had first entered into the Promised Land. You remember when they come into the altar of the Promised Land, how the Levite tribe carried the Ark of the Covenant over, and they gathered the 12 stones out of the middle of the river, and they had built an altar and had sacrifices to the Lord. It was real close to that spot. And it says here that they built a large altar. It wasn't just a small one. It was a huge, huge, beautiful altar. And it created some problems. You see, sometimes people do things and we look at the outside appearance and we don't see their intent. We make a fast judgment on what's going on. You read on here, and it says in verse 11, and the sons of Israel heard of it. Behold, the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh had built an altar and a fortress on the land of Canaan and in the regions of Jordan on the side belonging to the sons of Israel. And when the sons of Israel heard of it, the whole congregation of the sons of Israel gathered themselves in Shiloh and to go up against them in war. They built an altar there. How dare them to build that altar and before they go back across to the to their home and then here in the land of Israel and we're going to, they built this, how dare them to do that beside the altar of the Lord? What, they're now worshiping pagan gods. What are they building? We've got an altar there for the Lord that we're building, we're burning our sacrifices on, we're making our penance on, and now they build this huge altar. What is this? Why did they do this? See, they didn't understand it, and they made quick judgments. Have you ever done that, made a quick judgments? This morning, me and my wife went to town, and as we were coming around the curve down 19, all of a sudden I look in my rearview mirror, and here comes a whole line of motorcycles, riders, coming by. And they had their leather vests on, and they had them loud Harleys, and as they were coming by, they were slowing up, and you could hear the engines roaring, and I'm looking over there, and I'm thinking, man, I wish somebody could get hold of them, you know. As they go by, all of a sudden, my wife saw the sign, and I think, what was it, one voice? And one unit. It came back as one unit. I thought, yep, they done banded together, them motorcycle riders, man, they horrible, you know. And they kept on, and my wife was reading the back of some of the jackets. And she said, I wonder what that is. So she looked it up. And it is a motorcycle gang that loves the fellowship of the Lord, that promotes the Lord, and also my judgment when I saw them was immediately, these are motorcycle thugs, you know. I had no idea. My wife was kind enough to set me straight because she looked it up, and it's a Christian organization that loves the fellowship and the bonding of people together, regardless of race, creed, color, and they just want one unity. And I thought, man, what a message that is. Boy, did I blow that. Have you ever done that? Well, that's sort of what was happening here. There was a preacher that from a store one time went up to one of those Jitney Junior stores. Some of y'all still remember the Jitney Junior store, some of you don't, but it's one of those convenience stores. Most of them right beside it had a liquor store. And this pastor drove up, and in front of this store, all of the parking lots were full. So he had to park on the far side of it, which was right in front of the liquor store. He got out and he went in and he bought actually a bottle of ketchup because they were having hamburgers at his house that night. And as he bought that bottle of ketchup, they put it in a brown plastic bag and slid it down, and he put the top on it, and he was carrying it, and he walked to his car. Well, as he was getting ready to get into his car with that with that bottle of ketchup wrapped in that brown plastic bag, one of the church members happened to come by and saw him with that brown plastic bag wrapped up in his hand. And all of a sudden, the rumors started. I saw a preacher coming out of the liquor store with a fifth of whiskey. Man, it started and it spread like wildfire. You know the old thing, bad news spreads like wildfire, good news spreads so slow. Joe, I know you remember that song, but you know, all of a sudden, man, the whole congregation is the preacher's an alcoholic. Oh, so-and-so saw it, and so-and-so saw him coming out of the liquor store, and they know that it was a bottle of whiskey. He had it in his hand, and he was trying to defend himself, found himself defending himself before the whole congregation. It was not that. It's not what it looks like. I'm telling you, I did park there, but I went to the store next beside it and got a bottle of ketchup. Oh, no. The member had saw you, and she's a trusted member of the congregation, and everybody knows that she doesn't spread gospel. And if she saw, that's what she saw. And he was trying to say, but it wasn't that way. And he went to the lady, and he was pleading his case, and she says, I know what I saw. He said, things are not always as what they appear to be. And it continued to grow over the next week or so. And so one night, the preacher got up about midnight, and he took his car, and he drove his car to this lady's carport. And he parked it. And he got out and he walked home. And so the next day, the rumor started that the preacher was over at her house spending the night. And all of a sudden, things got cleared up. People began to understand it wasn't what it appears to be. Here, the whole congregation of Israel got all riled up because they saw these 2.5 tribes building a huge altar out beside their altar. How dare them? What's going through their mind? Did they not realize what God has done for them? Did they not realize what God has led them through and the land that God has given them? And now they're building a huge altar, and it goes on even down through here real quick. And they're getting together. Verse 13, and the sons of Israel sent the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh to the land of Gideon, Phinehas, the son of Ebenezer the priest. All of a sudden they got together, they got the priests together, they got the 10 chiefs of each household of the 10 tribes that was left there. They got all of the households together, the one leader from each tribe is what it was, and the priest, and they went down to this place, and now in verse 16 it says, thus says the whole congregation of the Lord, what is this unlawful act which you have committed against the Lord Israel, turning away from following the Lord this day by building yourself an altar to rebel against the Lord your God? What are you doing? How dare you? You know, sometimes it makes me think, and and even in church services. I remember a story of a pastor that came in, and as he came into the church, his musical ear, he liked the organ on the left side and the piano on the right side, and so he took it upon himself and moved the piano and organ. There became such an uproar in the church. How dared him to move the piano and the organ in the church? And he was trying to make some changes, and they virtually ran him off because he was trying to make changes. You know, sometimes in today's society, we make changes, and now in this time of the pandemic that we've got going on, that there's different ways of witnesses and different ways of worshiping the Lord. Worship in song. Man, I told you before, I love the song service. There's a lot of times more messages in songs than I could stand behind this holy desk and preach. Every time you sing a song, you're singing a worship service unto the Lord. Sometimes even the different styles of music brings in a different atmosphere. Some people like it and some don't. You know, sometimes we need to look at what the Word of the Lord says. They came to these and said, how dare you to do this, and rebelling against the Lord this day. He goes on down in verse 17. It says, and this is, is not this iniquity of Puro enough for us? Now, I sort of had to stop and look because that caught me off guard. I didn't know what the Puro was. And so I done some looking, and back over in Numbers in chapter 25, it talks about it. The sons of Puro, the sins of Puro, and it says, while Israel remained in Smith, the people began to play a harlot with the daughters of Moab, and they, that's the Moab, invited the people to sacrifice to their God, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods, and Israel joined themselves to Baal of Puro. It's another god. And the Lord was angry against Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, take all the leaders, listen to this, take all the leaders and execute them in broad daylight before the Lord, so the fiery anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel. He says, look, wasn't that enough? When the people turned away from God and started worshiping the Baal of Puro, and he was commanded, the Lord commanded Moses to take all the leaders out in broad daylight and to execute them. When you turn against the Lord, do you know what you're doing? You're making the Lord angry. They go on and they say, when you turn away that day to follow the Lord, that it will rebel against the Lord day, and he will be angry with the whole congregation of Israel tomorrow. Verse 22, did not Achan, the son of Zerah, act unfaithfully in the things under the ban? And wrath fell upon the congregation of Israel. And that man did not fear Shalom with his iniquity. You remember Achan? You remember when they first come across from the promised land, and they came to that one city, and he says, destroy everything. And they destroyed everything, and Achan had took that silver and gold and went and hid it under the tent. And then all of a sudden they went down to that city of Ai. If I remember right, 36 Israelites got killed, and the rest of them fled. They said, look, it's a small town. We don't need to kill you. About 3,000 down there. We go down there and we whoop them real quick. We'll be done with it. And they got beaten. It cost men's lives. All of a sudden, when Joshua tore his clothes and done an inquiry, Achan confessed, I stole and I done against what the Lord told him. It says that they carried him, his sons and his daughters, and all of his animals and everything that he had. They went out into the valley of Achan, and they stoned him to death, all that he had. Heap stones. Why? Because of one man that sinned against God, God caused the wrath upon him. look, isn't that enough? You see the anger that they had kindled against them? You see the anger that they had that was brought against them? I dare them to do that. Sometimes we get so bottled up and we get angry with people because we don't understand what they're doing and how dumb and how stupid of an act is that. And we condemn people in our own lives because we don't understand what they're going through. We don't take time. We just immediately make that judgment. It was fixed to be a civil war in the children of Israel. They had already gathered together and ready for war. They're going to fight their brother. How dare them to turn against the Lord? I am so thankful that they did have enough sense to send the high priest and the heads of the household down there to talk to them. Because when they went down there and they talked to them and they asked them, look here at verse 22. It says, the mighty one God, the Lord, the mighty one God, the Lord. He knows many Israels itself knows. If it was in rebellion or in an unfaithful act against the Lord, do not save us from that. If we've done this to offend the Lord, don't save us. Come on, bring the war on, we'll die. But that's not what our intentions were. It says here, if we had built us an altar to turn away from following the Lord, or if it's to offer a burnt offering or a grain offering on it, or if it's to other sacrifices, a peace offering on it, may the Lord himself inquire. If we built that for that reason, to have the burnt offering, the grain offering, the peace offerings, to have offerings burned upon it, may the Lord take justice himself. Because you see, that's not what we want. But truly, verse 24, truly we have done this out of concerns for reasons, saying it is time to come, it is in time to come, our sons may say to our sons, what have you to do with the Lord, the God of Israel? For the Lord has made the Jordan a border between us and you, your sons of Reuben and sons of Gad, and to have no portion in the Lord. So your sons may make your sons stop fearing the Lord. We were scared is what they're saying. In times to come, if we go back on the other side of the Jordan, here's a border that divides us, and we're scared that our sons are going to get over there and they're going to start enjoying the promised land and that flows with milk and honey, and they're going to forget about the Lord God and what he has done because there's a boundary there. You know, I get thinking about us today, and I get thinking about America and how great America has been, and the pride and the unity that we've had in standing together. And I think in the same way here, they saw their sons and their sons' sons and third and fourth generations down the road forget what the Lord has done for us. And I think even now we see that patriotism of our country beginning to slide because we don't remember World War I and World War II and Korea and Vietnam and the Gulf War. We don't remember all those. Well, we grew up in a society of cell phones that people walk around like this all the time. What was one telling me the other day, the cell phone is not an attachment. It's not hung to my nose. You know? And we have great technology. Don't get me wrong. Nothing's wrong with cell phones. Nothing's wrong with the technology. But how are we using it? Nothing's wrong in having a ski boat. Nothing's wrong in enjoying time out on the lake and fishing in a great fishing boat. Nothing's wrong with going hunting and love to be out in the woods and be around nature and hunting. Nothing's wrong with that. But I think sometimes we get in the pleasure mode and we pleasure ourselves and we forget what the Lord has promised. forget what our forefathers done in making this a great country, that we can have the freedoms that we have. And that's what they're saying here. We don't want them to forget. And you continue to read it, and it says, we don't want them to forget. Therefore, we said, verse 26, let us build an altar, not from another altar for sacrifice. Rather, it shall be a witness between you, us and you, and between our generations and after us. He said, what we want to do is build this huge altar that even on the other side of the Jordan, they can look and see, and they can know what that altar stands for. That altar stands for what our fathers fought for and what the Lord has given us. I know you've heard me say it many, many times. It's not my saying. I stole it from somebody that stole it from somebody. People ask me how you do it. I'm blessed beyond belief. And I say that because I truly mean it. I told you I really should either be dead or in jail. And only by God's grace I'm where I'm at today. I'm truly blessed beyond belief. Stop and think of your life. You're truly blessed beyond belief. And that's what they're saying. We don't want our sons and our sons' sons and the third and fourth generation, we don't want them to forget where those blessings come from. You're getting ready to declare war because we built an altar. You're getting ready to come and have a civil war against us because we were doing something to secure the future, to be sure that the second, third generation can look and see what the Lord's brought us through. And the Lord, they can continue to fear the Lord, because we're scared that the further you get away from the Lord, the further you don't fear Him. Remember in our court system, and you've seen it on TV years ago, when people would put their hand upon the Bible, their left hand upon the Bible, they raise their right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. They would tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth because they were scared. They were swearing before God that what they were saying that was true. And nowadays that has absolutely no meaning. Yeah, I tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help God. Yeah, I do, okay. And they go ahead and just tell lie after lie. Further and further that we get away from God, more and more our children are not fearing Him nowadays. And what they were trying to do is to build that sacrifice there to say we want our children to know. We want them to fear the Lord. You see, nowadays it's our responsibility as parents to say, children, you need to fear the Lord. The wrath of the Lord is upon us. And that's the reason why He tells us that we are to teach our children when we rise up in the morning, when we lay down at night, when we sit down at our dinner table, when we walk in our ways. We're to teach our children the wrath of the Lord, the path of the Lord. The path of the Lord is if you get off of His path, you'll get His wrath. That's what's happening nowadays. People don't fear the Lord. Word means nothing. They said, we built that because we want our children to remember. I want my children to remember that I went to church mornings that I didn't feel like it. The mornings I got up and we got our hands ready and we were heading out the door. And we found one that had already went ahead of us outside, was in the mud puddle, and we go outside to get him, and the other one's in the bathroom playing in the toilet, and we're thinking, what's the use of even going? None of y'all had those days. But we packed up and we went anyway, because we wanted our children to know that the church was good. Even if we went to church with mud on their feet. Pray on and do that. Whatever it was. Because we wanted them to know 37, 36, 35, 35, 6, 35. It took my life to get to 80. But even at 35, I don't mind sitting down with my son and saying, son, this is me. My father, I'm concerned about this. Because of the wrath of the Lord, you're a child of Jesus. Isn't that what it says? He said, we built an altar. It's because we wanted our children to understand. We wanted them to know the wrath of the Lord. We wanted them to know the Lord loves them. Watch after them. We want them to see that visual thing there. Visual. It wasn't for any sacrifice to be upon it. It wasn't a peace offering, a grain offering. Nothing was to be upon it. It was nothing but sin. But God's love. Folks, that's what we need to do. How many Bibles do we have in our homes today? A line of shelves that's collected dust. We get ready to go to church, and I'll be like, where did I put my Bible? It's the last Sunday I came in. Yeah, it's where I go. What have you been doing all week? I've been in the car. You know, I left it in the car. I mean, is that what we do? Is that what we show our children? Folks, I'm going to tell you, it burns my heart. Even your song, right on this morning. We should get all the way. We never know. We never know when the end of times come. Oh, there have been people that was rejected when it was going to be, but Jesus says, no one knows but the Father. He don't know. But the Bible does say that one day, God is going to look over at Jesus and say, son, go gather my children. And at that day, yes, my heart will go out. I wish we all could be in that heavenly home. What do you show your children? Where's our lives today? I think sometimes we need to stop and look. Are we like the children of Israel? Like I was this morning? We make that prejudgment and we judge people and we turn our backs on them. These are men and brethren I've been fighting 5.5 years with. I'm ready to go fight them now. Because of misunderstanding. Where do you have with your brother? You want to be sure that you're a shining light into the Father's world. If the world misunderstands you, it really doesn't matter. If God is leading you, follow His footsteps. Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for today, for the blessings that you've given us, for being able to come to your house and to your sanctuary, singing praises to your glorious name and lifting you upon high. But Lord, now comes the time that each one of us have to examine ourselves. Lord, are we ready? Have we been setting that example for others? Have we been quick in making judgments that we need to step back and relook? We're going to have an invitation. This altar will be open. I'll be down front. You want to come and talk to me? I'll have my mask on. This altar's ready if you want to come and talk to me. Lay your fears before me. Whatever the Lord has laid upon